Right, today I'm going to draw with a brush. And a dip pen, and just sort of play with relative weight of line in a fairly sort of free-form way. I mean, I've got a sort of figure in mind, but not necessarily a compositional idea. I'll let that sort of grow on the page. I think I want to get this sort of sense of control, but also less control, maybe in some of the marks I'm making. So it's going to be this sort of slightly out of control in some places and in control in others. So this is, you know, in a sense trying to explore maybe some other possibilities of mark making in a free sense, and setting up that sort of dynamism between more gestural marks and then sort of sculptural, in a sense, sculptural descriptive passages of drawing, and then the sort of tonal and sort of hatched and shaded passages. And with this is a Japanese brush, so it's, you know, designed in a sense to have this flexibility of mark making, so that one can load it with ink and make it heavy and really lay in the sort of ink marks like this. Play with that sort of sense of the inadvertent mark. And then the more finished detail. And I think also I'm going to play with the notion of how finished one wants to take a drawing. You know, at what point do you want it to sort of, you know, have that sense of a study as opposed to a sort of final resolved piece. Because I'm going to be illustrating some poetry this afternoon, and this is exactly the sort of feel I think I want to get in the sort of figure work that I'll be doing. I'll come into some sort of finer detail, and also think about maybe building up some sort of textures. So I'm in Norfolk, and later on today I'm going to pull names out of, well, actually a mug made for me by a German potter. I call it my dimple mug because it's got a dimple in it, and I'm going to pull some names out, and whoever's names of patrons and whichever name I pull out, I will contact you and ask for an address to send you a piece of artwork as a sort of thank you for the wonderful support that you have all provided on this Patreon adventure that I've embarked on with my daughter Katie and her boyfriend Harry, who's a translator and a musician, and Katie is a young illustrator beginning her career, and this Patreon page really is to support them in their careers, and so I said I would lend a hand. So a big thank you to all of you who've made pledges and made this Patreon adventure so enjoyable. It's been so nice to sort of have this sort of personal contact. I've said it before, but it's worth saying again that the sort of personal contact that one can make with people who follow my work, all of you out there, has been really tremendous. So I'm attempting to draw a 11th century Viking who's travelled to the east, possibly enlisted in the Varangian Guard in Byzantium, lending his skills as a warrior before returning to the cold north and remembering his time in the exotic and alluring city. So yes, I mean, and again, one can sort of make these marks as rough and gestural as one needs. But then spend time, you know, really getting into the drawing and reinforcing some of these decisions. Creating sort of different textures. To work into. So this really is a sort of warm-up to what I want to draw this afternoon, and I will share with you the results of my experiments. And then send the drawings that I've earmarked for patrons. I'll send those off in a live stream this afternoon at 5:30. Now the bandwidth is not great here in Norfolk, so you'll have to bear with me a little bit just to see how that might work. But at least, you know, I can also post up and contact the winners of the artwork. Get a bit of decoration into this. And in a way, this is a nice sort of technique to use to just establish sort of bare bones of a drawing that one can then sort of work into, and sort of, you know, create so sort of free form at this stage, and then increasingly work in and add detail and create texture. And smudge. Smudging. And this is very much sort of technique that's used by some of the great illustrators of my childhood, like Charles Keeping and Victor Ambras. They're gorgeous historical illustrations, so full of depth and coming out of a sort of 1960s illustration sensibility that had a lot to do with fine art and printmaking, and whose work still, you know, stands up today. Harold in Byzantium.